Nailed it.
Yes. All right. Yeah, make sure you get in nice and close, be able to see. So yeah, text isn't always the largest, but we're gonna start with this sheet that's at the very back. I just kind of wanted to keep it out of the way. It says prep sheet guide. That has a lot of my initial thoughts. I tried to make sure it's all updated because I have changed certain things. So we'll just go with this first one in yellow. For prep sheets, do not delete any rows without understanding how the formulas work. Like I said, if you do learn how the formulas work, talking to ChatGPT, going into AppScript, you can change them. But if you don't know what you're doing, don't delete anything or else it could break something. I have transitioned almost everything into being apps scripts so they don't require in cell formulas. So it's not like if you delete something, it will break the formula because it will auto generate when you run the function. So I have tried to make it as easy to prevent breaking as possible, if that makes sense. So how this prep sheet works is you can change the prep sheets and their chemicals as long as the chemicals you want to track are in the section determined by the value in H1 for each sheet. What that means is if we go into Chem 211 here, H1 is this cell right here. And so as you can see, S48 to ZZ89, S is this column right here, S, and then 48 is this row down here. So it starts in here and it goes to ZZ, which is way down the line. So if you were to add more prep sheets or something like that, it will still be captured in there. I think it would be something like 80 labs or something like that before you encroached on that limit and having to expand it and change it. So I don't think that'll ever need to be changed. I did that intentionally. But yeah, so that means anything that's on, what would this be with the second page? If you have a double space after the chemical, then that is telling the sheet that when you're running that function to consolidate all the chemicals, that is a chemical, that is something that you want to grab and put into the chemicals table. And in those requirements, you need to have the quantity per group, specifically per group, in the cell to the left of it, where the number is first, there is a space, and then there is the unit that is all together. Like if it's M space L, that would mess it up a little bit. So ML, try to keep the conventional. So lowercase m, capital L, because that'll match everything up properly. So yeah, you have the number. It can be as long as the number as you want. It can be 1,000, whatever. But as long as it's number, space, and then the unit. And then for the chemical itself, always make sure that you have the chemical first and then the concentration. That's just not only for better organization. If you want to sort it alphabetically, you can see all the NaOHs right next to each other. But that also builds into some of the logic for later on when we get to the inventory, because I've made it so the inventory tracks everything across all the classes based off of the concentration that we get from whatever chemical vendor we get it at. So we buy hydrochloric acid in 12 molar. Every time there's a hydrochloric acid 1 molar in a prep sheet, when you do the inventory, it is going to automatically take the 1 molar part of the HCl chemical name and then do all the calculations to make it 12 molar. So it'll undilute it so that we know exactly how much 12 molar we're needing for the entire semester. So it does some of those calculations. So that's why it needs to be the chemical name followed by a space followed by the concentration, if there is a concentration, and then 2 spaces. Any questions on that? Okay. And then I have these asterisks out here and these other other information because you only want in the cell that has the double spaces, just you want that to only be the name of the chemical that you're trying to keep track of inventory wise. If you want a little note that bleach is 5.25% NaOCl, then I would just put it in the cell next to it. Same thing with these asterisks regarding, I believe it was like pipette sizes, they're leaving out pipettes. Just put that in the cell next to it so that you can still have your notes down here And yeah, so regarding the actual prep sheets themselves, I just did the format that we have the equipment on the first page. You have your semester. We kind of went over this before, but you have your semester. So when you print it out, you can have the record of it. And then I like having weeks because that way you know, okay, if there's going to be a lab or this lab is going to be in for one of the professors on week 3, but some other professors week 4 or week 5, or say even week 10 if they kind of got way out of line. That is a good reminder for you to know, not only just through the calendar, but through your prep sheets when you need to have those chemicals prepared. And then I did quantity per group here on the equipment. I just thought that trying to keep it consistent. So clam shaped stir bars, you're going to need 1 per group. If from what I saw on the prep sheets, it was a per class thing. Like if you're only putting out a jar for something like disposable glass Pasteur pipettes, I just put jar per class. This isn't getting into the chemical sheet whatsoever. You could really write whatever you want in this first page. It doesn't really matter. I was just trying to keep it consistent. I also kept things like packages, things that we are physically providing them or have shopping tags. That's what's going to be on this front page. And then on the second page, on the back page is going to be the section, the name of the lab, and then any demos required, so things that we have to prep and provide, or ICE or FTIR, Rotovap. I'm using OChem because it is a little bit more complicated than the other ones. Like the other ones will just have demos. OChem will sometimes have ICE, FTIR. I put all that to the second page, stuff that us as staff need to know. And then prep required. I have this column here. Just is it prepped? You can put a check mark next to it when you're going through everything. I have them separated by day per class. This per class stuff, similar to the front page, it is not being extracted at all. Bye. Thank you for your help. This per class is not being extracted whatsoever. This is really just whatever you want to put here. In 150, as you can see, I would go into here. I would put like what I'm putting out. So I'm only putting out 1 bottle of this, 1 box of this, 3 jars of this. It was more of like a way to let yourself be reminded of what you're putting out regarding like how much it is per group. It has nothing to do with the inventory tracking. So yeah, some of these I didn't know what you would be putting out. And then some of the notes on the outside. But yeah, days I have separated by dotted lines. Some of that is just aesthetics. What I thought would look best. Yeah, 10 milligrams per drops. So for these ones, I didn't put a double space because they were just such small quantities. So we're not tracking them quantity wise. So like I said, you can have as whatever you really want in here. The only way it knows it's a chemical is if there's a double space. So you can have things like this that you don't want to track, that you just don't put a double space behind, and then it's just not going to be tracked in the chemical inventory.
Question: if it does have a double space behind the chemical name, is it linked to our inventory?
So I have made it so none of it is dynamic. I've made it so that up here next to help, we have all these cool little tools that I'll get to in a minute. And it's only when you actually press the button to do those tools that it gets all synced or whatever that function does. It is no longer automatic. I felt like it would be the best to prevent it being broken. And also sometimes you're like, I want to change it here, but I don't want to affect the calculations I've already done for certain other things. So I felt like segmenting it in that way might give you more control. It is a little bit more steps to do everything, but it gives you more control. I felt like that would be desirable. So these are old labs. I would just say like make sure they're gray, and also make sure they're in the back. Yeah, we'll only do that. Go to that far as of now. But yeah, just make sure they're gray and in the back. That lets you know that they're old labs. I also have some back here that I didn't translate. Yeah, so like Chem 211 ester synthesis. So this is how Tony's old prep sheets were, is they had the equipment required, they had the chemicals required, and then they had some other notes at the bottom. They had the quantities over here. So this is just a way for you guys to know like how he formatted it versus how I formatted it. So if there's old prep sheets that we want to use, but in our new format, you kind of have an understanding of how I changed the format. Essentially, equipment required for the most part just went on the first page. But if it's like ice or mini, or if it's ice, or FTIR or things like that that are staff oriented, that goes on the back page at the top next to demos. And then chemicals required, that goes on the back page. That's prep for staff. And then unknowns for alcohols or things that are related to being unknowns, that also goes on the prep side for the staff. And then also some interesting things for you guys to know is if you were to make a new prep sheet for a new lab, you can just go in and copy these columns and then paste them, or maybe you'd want to come into here, go to the very back of where you have actual labs that you're using, select all of them to then, I don't know, be easier if I had a mouse. Oh yeah, and then insert 9 columns to the right, and then you can just do that. And I would just recommend copying this and then pasting it, because there are some formulas in here that just make your life easier. So for example, this one here, there's a formula. So if I were to change this to random lab, you don't have to do it on both the top and the bottom page. It'll automatically do it for you. I also made it so that these little numbers are formulas. So, even if you were to like go into here and take these columns and you wanted to move this lab up earlier, say it's earlier and you wanted to keep it in the right orientation, this will automatically update for you. And I think that's just about it for the, fun little tricks. But yeah, then either move this to the end, make it gray if you're no longer using it, or you can just delete it. And again, this will automatically update for you. That'll automatically update for you. So some little tricks to make it a little easier for you if you make a new lab. Actually, I'm going to undo that. I'm going to keep this random lab in there. Just for when we get to some of the tools. So coming back to here, yeah, double space. Update tables. All right, I think I've covered everything about the basics I want to cover. And now I'm going to go into the little tools that I've made one at a time, starting from the least involved to the most. So starting from the right, we have this jump to lab feature. So for example, if I wanted to go specifically to the Wittig olefication, however you pronounce that lab, without having to just constantly scroll to the right and hope I find it, I did try to make it so that if you have a monitor, you will still be able to see these numbers at the bottom as you scroll to the right. But as you can see, I can't see that on the laptop, at least with the current view. But if I wanted to go to this Wittig olefication without just having to slide all the way across, I can go to jump to lab. I did all the way up to 20, but I can go to lab 5. It'll run the script and it'll send me over to lab 5. So yeah, a little way to just, find it a little quicker. And that's essentially all of this drop down. This just go to specific labs within a sheet. We'll actually bounce a little bit. We're going to start with the prep sheet tools. So these prep sheet tools drop down is specifically for an individual sheet. So if you're only concerned about what's going on in Chem 211 or Chem 210 and you're specifically working in that sheet, you want to look at prep sheet tools. So let's do first. So because I added that dummy lab, I want to make sure that this table of contents is updated, because that is also how it's going to affect these tables. So I'm going to go into prep sheet tools and I'm going to do extract lab names. It's going to run the script. And it's going to come back. Okay, random lab has popped up. And yeah, it also will automatically, if this cell, really if the whole thing is gray, but especially if this cell is gray. So say, I wanted to grab this lab. Say we don't want to use it anymore. We throw it to the back. Oop, too far. Oh no. That's far enough. And then we grab it, we make it gray, and then try to make sure that it is this gray, that when you hover over it, it says gray. I made some functions to make it so that even if it was black, it would, or any other color, it would still work, but just preferably try to keep it gray. So yeah, if you look here, we go to prep sheet tools, extract lab names. It'll move random lab down to here. It'll make it gray. And yeah, so now it is completely out of the way.
No, we're gonna mess it up. It's okay.
Yeah, it is a lot, but I mean, it's a lot of fairly intuitive things. I mean, yeah, just kind of keep old labs to the back, keep them gray. And then all the functions I've made, I tried to name them relatively simply. I mean, I'm still here and I'm available to change the names of these functions if you prefer them to be a different name. But yeah, so prep sheet tools extract lab names does what it says. It extracts the lab names from the prep sheets to the table of contents. And so now that this is updated, oh no, we still have this random lab. We go to prep sheet tools, extract lab names. Gets rid of that. Okay. And then, so let's go to, let's say Chem 151. So I want to go to this one because there actually is a class going on without going into the inventory sheet. I don't think we've gotten there yet. So let's say that this just wasn't updated like from last semester, like some professor decided that they didn't want to do a certain lab during the summer or something like that. But it's the next semester, you have several classes or whatever happens, and you just want to update all of these at once. You can go into set labs to number of classes per section, and that will automatically update these to be that number. So if say there was 5 classes, it would set this to 5. And that matters because in the summer, I felt like I would give you more control. Because as we can see in Chem 150, specifically, this is an exact example of what's going on this summer. So normally we do have professors do this lab 1, lab 2. We don't have professors doing one of the professors doing something and the others, but in the summer we do have that. So you can set these to being 0, 2, 1, whatever, and that will affect the quantities that are in this table. This summer value, as you can see, is 0, even though normally there should be something in here, but since I have it set that nobody's using this lab, it's going to set that value to 0. But if you were to go into prep sheet tools and set labs to number of classes per section, it would set all those to 2. But yeah, you can go in there individually or set it all. So now let's go back into Chem 151 and say these were zeros, or a couple of them were zeros. And we wanted to update the table. Then we would go again to prep sheet tools. This is everything that we're going to need if we're in an individual section is prep sheet tools. So we've already done extract lab names. We've already set labs to number of classes per section. We know what that does. And so if we go to update tables in sheet and click that, it'll run. And as you can see, it changed these to 0. And these correspond to lab 2 because nobody's doing lab 2 anymore. So all of these are updated. The tables within this sheet or prep sheet are now updated. If you wanted to look at, it will automatically sort these for you by lab number for this table. So if you wanted to see the sequence of when certain chemicals are being used, that's what you would look at for this table. But if you wanted to only look at the unique chemicals for this specific section and see their quantities, that's what this table is for. So as you can, for across all the labs within this section, you're going to use 1.2 liters of 0.01 molar HCl.
Wait, what do you mean by unique?
Unique as in if you were to use 0.01 molar HCl in lab 2 and lab 6 and lab 7, it'll compile all of those into this one value. So unique chemicals in that way. That's also why you kind of want to have this standardization of HCl first. Like I try to use HCl instead of hydrochloric acid. So you'll see some of those patterns, but HCl and then the molarity, because then it can all compile them into a single value. And that's how when we get to across all classes, similarly, it'll compile all those unique values and see all the 1 molar HCl that you're going to need across all classes for an entire semester.
What you mean by unique is these are the chemicals required for 151.
All the unique chemicals required for them, yeah. There are
Headers, what are the green headers that are kind of getting covered? Is that
Yeah.
grams?
so
Yeah, there's chemicals, what's the one that's the policy part of it?
yeah, you can make it bigger. So this first one is lab. If you wanted to expand it even further. So which lab number, which corresponds to the table of contents. So yeah, that's why if you move these around, it'll also update this. Like if you make one lab behind another, it'll shift these around and move them according to the lab number. So you do kind of want to make sure your prep sheets are in the correct order, because then that'll just help you down the line with this. So this first column is lab. The second column is chemicals. The third column is the amount per group. Column L is the amount per class. So it essentially just multiplies it by 18. I did make it so that it is a little bit more customizable. You can make it 18. You can set this to be 15 and then run it again. It'll change that value. If it's going to be an individual lab, you can set it to 30. But that changes it for all the labs. I didn't have the time to make it for each individual lab. Let's say, say 150 decided all their labs are going to be individual, you can set it there. But if it's individual labs within a certain class, so like say 150 has a practical and it's an individual lab, everything still needs to be by group. So essentially, you're just setting the group to be an individual in that case. Yeah. But because of how the calculations are,
Show us for 150.
yeah. So yeah, real quick. So yeah, this is class. This is class. This is semester, and then this is unit.
Semester? What does that mean?
That's
Oh, for this semester, this
Yeah.
is how much you need.
yes,
Oh, I see.
Yeah. and that's using this multiplication here. So if I were to then go to prep sheet tools, set labs number, to set these back to 1, and then go back to prep sheet tools, update tables and sheets.
You have all solutions first, or it just happens to be that way?
It just happens to be that way. You can sort these. You can feel free to sort these however you want. Just don't filter them, because filtering them will filter the entire row out of it. So I made another sheet for you to be able to sort and filter, but within each prep sheet, just sort. That would be as much as you can do. But you can sort this A to Z to make it by grams or by mils. And then if you go back to, update tables and sheet, it will automatically resort them for you by lab. So yeah, that's semester. And then what was the question before?
That's it.
Oh no, 150 individual
Oh, yeah.
labs. Yeah. So say for the practical, which is, let's say, the titrations one. So we go to jump to lab, we go to 18. The farther one's take a minute. All right, so now we're over at 18. So I set this, I kind of put these here as individual group of 2. You don't have to have these. This is just purely for your own note, taking of notes.
For a little spot where you put the boxes. Did you take that off?
The boxes.
Remember you said you were gonna put like location of the.
Oh, yeah, I did take that off.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just telling Lala about it, and I'm like, actually, I don't see it here.
Yeah, you can put it back.
No, it's fine. It's fine, because we're gonna move it to the inorganic. room.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah, I figured that's why I took it off. But yeah, so back to 150. So for these, since it is still per group, in the calculations, but that this is going to be an individual lab, you're going to need to multiply this by 2 just for yourself. So I think, actually, I don't know if this was correctly done. I might need to come back and fix this. Wait, no, I think they only take 50 mils, right? Or did they take 100 for the lab?
Look.
Because if that's the case, this needed to be doubled to 200. So really, per group is per 2. Does that make sense? Okay. So yeah, if it's an individual lab, you need to multiply it by 2. Oh boy.
So that's already set for a group.
Yeah. All practicals are going to be individual. So now my worry is, yeah, I'm worried now if we didn't make enough acid and base for the practical. I know. Because yeah, it would be important.
It's people just make more.
I mean, yeah, if they only take 50 mils, then that's correct. But if they take 100 mils, we need to double it. So that's it. That's in the notes. I would say, yeah, I would make a note of that. If it is an individual lab, make sure that this is ×2. Yes.
But couldn't you just put in your formula sheet? Couldn't you put, because you have groups, right, in your formula sheet?
Yeah. So, but this is across all labs.
Could be if you're right, right? Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Oh. But this you would then need to update tables.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but we'd have to go back, but so in theory, where's the 0.4? 6,000, so 6 liters. We made that much. I think we're close to that.
Oh yeah.
I think we make 4 or 5 at least.
Okay. All right. All right. I'll set it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll set it back to 18, but yeah, hopefully that we have enough. Long story short, but yeah, as you can also see, we need a lot of 1 molar HCl for 150. So yeah, and then the last thing for the individual prep sheet tools that you have is select prep sheets to print. This will go by the table of contents. And if there is a gray one, then it won't select that one. So that way you're not printing out old labs. So that's why another reason to make sure that if it's an old lab, put it at the back, make it gray. But yeah, so if you go to prep sheet tools, select sheets to print. As you can see, it has selected all the sheets except for the one that's grayed out. And then you can just go to print selection. And it'll have it in the correct format for you to just be able to print all at one go. Yes. All right. Now that we have prep sheet tools done, we can now look at update all prep sheet tools. So this is to make it even faster. So to say, if you were at the start of a new semester and you, let's say, wanted to update all labs to number of classes per section. So you're going into like a fall semester, and you were to change it. So like, say this number was 5. You didn't want to have to go in and manually change all of these. All of these number of classes performing this lab, like for every single prep sheet. You can just go into update all prep sheet tools, update all labs to number of classes per section, and it'll loop through every single sheet that contains the word chem in it. So just be careful when making a new sheet. If it contains chem, it will assume that that is a prep sheet, and it will set all of these to 2 or 1 or however many sections are for that class. And it is getting that information from the inventory sheet. So right here, you can change this to whatever you want, like say fall 25. This affects nothing. This is just for you to know what you've put in here. So let's say it's summer 25. And this is 1, 1, 2, 1, whatever. But yeah, say you changed it like that. To ones across the board for those. And you can do this anywhere. I made it so that you can do it anywhere. But then, yeah, if you go to, oh, interesting. I think I already set all these to 1. Imagine that didn't happen. And then you go to update all labs to number of prep sheets. Or yeah, it'll automatically update the 1. It'll keep going. Finished. And as you can see, it messed all this up. So this also gives me the opportunity to show it's not the end of the world if you did it accidentally, because you can also just click undo. So if I do undo, did it already do it all? No. You have to keep pressing undo. I think so. Yeah. So I just pressed undo about 5 times. So it is helpful if you like do something right before you do something or accidentally do, because then you just know how many times you press undo. But you can also, just press undo, redo once you figure out roughly where you are. But as you can see, if we go back to 150, all that information is still there. You just, you press undo. You don't have to go back each time and fix it if you make that mistake. But yeah, so that's what that update all labs to number of classes per section button does. And now update all prep sheet tables. Similar, exact same thing as update tables and sheets, except just like the, changing the class per section, it will iterate through all sheets that may contain the word chem and update all of these tables. All right, I'm gonna get some.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Now, what does BPT stand for?
BPT. Where's that?
The bottom, it'll say BPT, FTIR is gonna be on there.
I saw that. I just copied what he had. I have no idea what that means.
So I feel like I remembered it, and I was like, oh, yeah, I remember what that stands for, and then now thinking about it.
BPT run on NMR on day 2. Yeah, I have no idea what that means, but yeah. Like, so the OChems, I literally just translated his sheets, and I accidentally did old ones and not new ones at one point. So I don't know exactly how updated all of these prep sheets are, but now you know the format and you can update these as you want. Yes, be prepared to. Yeah.
Be prepared to go make sure their GRs are working. I had to go through like 7 things to find that out though, and there's some very interesting things that they put on here that BPT stands for.
I can imagine.
And I know it's something for us, it's like for the professor, or like, something about it being the day, but being there to
Yeah. Oh yeah, and as you can see, I do have this reminder on every single one of the prep sheets. Do not delete or filter any rows. You can sort the tables, as I showed. See prep sheet guide for more info. That's what that sheet was, the prep sheet guide sheet. Prep sheet tools, extract lab names, displays old names in gray if they are grayed out in the prep sheet, like I showed you. So there are these little descriptions of what everything does. Put all old labs at the end to update the tables, update chemical data tables, update tables and sheets. Oh, that's because that isn't fully up to date because I changed the names of certain things. So this is just prep sheet tools, and I can change that reminder on each of the sheet, but I'll just do this one for now. Prep sheet tools, update tables and sheets. Yes, that is correct. If you eventually get annoyed by having this reminder blaring in your face every time you open up a sheet and you wanted to remove it, because at this point what you're supposed to do and what you can't do, you can just copy this and just put the reminder in this prep sheet guide. When you're telling new people, and then just make this background normal, so you don't have to see it. But please make sure to keep this whole section as is, and don't move things, because the formulas are specifically looking for this specific cell to get that specific value. Same thing with other things to fill these out. It's specifically putting them starting in this row for a reason. So yeah.
Like lock cells, like that we can't.
There are ways to lock cells, but the way I'm familiar with locking cells, it affects, you can't change them.
Oh.
So even the formulas can't change them. So yeah, this is just reminders, and you have a backup. If anything were to go wrong, you can just revert to the backup.
Well, like I was telling them, this isn't something that we don't necessarily have to bring this up every day.
No.
And use it every day. We're
No.
gonna print them all out.
Mhm.
We're gonna have it in our binders.
Yeah.
We can even print, because we'll know all of this information being in the semester.
Yeah.
And in theory, it shouldn't change.
Yeah.
And then we print out how much the chemical list, and
Yeah.
so then really you could not go back into the sheet a whole semester.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not something that we should really,
Yeah. Yeah, you can print out these these tables at the beginning of the semester for each section, or you can just print out the one big table that has all the chemicals across all the sections that I'll get to in a second. Yeah. So yeah, as you can see, it is kind of interesting if you go through some of these, how many chemicals are in 112. You scroll over 200 chemicals, and then if you go into something like Chem 115, you have about 75. Yeah, you have how many? You have 159 unique chemicals in 112. It's kind of some fun things to look at. Anyways, moving on to the calc sheet. So this is names. What do you mean by chemical names?
like how it's important, like if we created the front sheet, how it's important to use the right name. Did you already do that?
I'm gonna get into that with the inventory
Okay.
section. We haven't gotten to the inventory yet. I'm kind of working from prep sheets backwards. I felt like it'd be a little less overwhelming, but yeah. I mean, if you guys want a break, just let me know, because I know it's a lot.
Yeah.
We're good? Okay. All right. Julie's eyes are saying something else, but all right. Yeah. Exactly. You can watch it later. There is a lot going on this page. So essentially, this calc sheet has a lot of different fun things. In this section here, this is grabbing all of the chemicals across all the sheets that contain the word chem. It has their course number, it has the lab number, it has what the chemical name is, it's how much it's used in that semester, and it has the unit. So this is a separate thing. This sheet here is a summary. This is taking the unique chemicals, like I mentioned earlier. So all the 1 molar HCl is going to be in just listed in here once with all of the quantities across all the sections added up together with the same unit. Later on, there will be errors made if you were to say use the exact same name of something. So like NaCl, if you say it's in grams for one sheet and then in mils in another sheet, it'll mess up the inventory. So if it is a solution, make sure it has its concentration. That's important for multiple things. Naming convention and also being able to convert it back to the original in the inventory. And then chemicals to be made red/filter for sort and filter. So essentially just keep in here names of things that you want to highly prioritize, like especially for making solutions. So specifically like NaOH and HCl, and it will grab all the concentrations for HCl. It'll grab all the concentrations for NaOH. And that way you can consolidate those into a single table and know what you need to make of each of those. Do not sort or filter the values in this sheet. Again, if you were to filter, it would mess up all the rows for some of the other calculations. And these aren't tables, so they're not really built to be sorted. That's why I made a whole separate sheet for that specific reason. This is more of a data dump. It's where all the data is stored. And then we'll get to this we'll get to that later. So then going to the sort and filter. This is essentially free reign. This has a little bit of a description here. So this is a table specifically made for you to be able to sort and filter and do whatever you want to do for preparing solutions or whatever, of tracking certain things, certain chemicals. So let's start with inventory tools. Let's see, what do we want to start? So sort and filter update. So this is the function that will update the sort and filter sheet. So it's running. So now you're going to be prompted to do one of three options. I wish I had split screen, but sort and filter all chemicals, that first option, that will take that first table I showed you where it has all the class sections, it has the labs that they're in, the chemical names, every single time that chemical is mentioned, its quantity and its unit. So say we were to do that, we want to click 1, click OK. It will reset the whole page. So even if you did sort and filter in this table, it will reset that completely for you. So now you can see from this calc sheet, it has now added it in here for you. You can see all 1 of 3, and I even froze these first rows so you can still see them and see what the headers are. Yeah, you can scroll through all of these. You can sort them however you want. Say you wanted to sort A to Z, so you saw all the labs, like across all the courses, the first lab that happens and what the chemicals are that you needed then. I just figured that would be something interesting for you guys to be able to see. And then let's go to inventory tools, sort and filter update again. This time, let's go into 2. So that will go into the second table that I showed you, where it will just take the unique chemicals. So 2, click OK. And you can also, if you made the mistake by clicking that button, you can click cancel. It'll cancel it immediately. So now you can see if we go into here, it's the same thing as this, the unique chemicals, the semester, and the unit. So that's what these first 3 columns are. And as you can see, it's added a couple of columns. One of them is current inventory, and the other is quantity to make. I didn't make it so that it pulls the inventory from the inventory sheet because it's not in the exact concentration that it might be, like HCl 1 molar. It, like in the inventory sheet, only 12 molar is stored, so that information wouldn't be accurate. You'd actually have to go in and enter in the inventory yourself, just from a table that you might have somewhere else, because I haven't had time to make that. But anyways, as you can see, some of these are red and bold, and that is because they were in this chemicals to be made red / filter for in sort and filter. And so as you can see, acetic acid or acid was just one of the words I used, one of the keywords I wanted to look for. And so anything that contains acid is red and bolded, probably because it's going to be something that we need to make, indicator or something like that. You can also go in and say sort, or no, you want to filter. Say you only wanted the red ones, you go sort by color, or no, you want to go to filter by color, text color red, and it'll get rid of all the other chemicals and leaving just the ones that you're interested in. And you can even go further. You can go down here and deselect 0, and that will deselect 0 and click OK, and then it'll remove all its instances of 0. And so now you'll only have solutions, or you'll only have chemicals of interest that you've that are going to be used in that semester. And say you only wanted the solutions because you don't need to prepare chemicals really, you just need to grab them. Say you only wanted the solutions, you go into here and you do, oh, it already exists in just ml. But if there were grams here, you could deselect that and it could just be in mLs. And this quantity to make, this equation is automatically put in for you every time that you run the sort and filter tool. So even if you were to delete the function in that, don't worry. If you were to go back into inventory tools, sort and filter update, and then go 2 again, as you can see, the quantity to make will be back and the filter will be destroyed. So you will have to redo it, but at least if you were to do other things or want to do a different version of the sort and filter, that won't mess things up. So yeah, you go back into here, you go back, take out zeros, click OK, and then yeah, still, oh, interesting. So yeah, and then you want to get rid of that, click OK, and now all you have are solutions. Oh, it's because I haven't filtered by color. So yeah, now it's just the ones of interest and the quantities to make. And this is a formula that is essentially subtracting this by this. So say you knew you had on hand 3 liters of acetic acid. Oh wait, is this? Oh, I think it's because I did something in the wrong order, maybe. Yeah, I did something in the wrong order. You want to do your filtering before you're sorting. I have learned the hard way. So filter, red, remove zeros. Okay, don't need to worry about grams. So now this is just solutions that you need to make, or solutions of interest that were in this column. All your HCLs. And so this is all the 1 molar HCl we're going to need across the entire semester for all the classes. We need 6.4 liters. And say you knew you had on hand 7 liters, it will automatically set that to 0 for you. Or if you knew you only had like 2 liters of 2 molar HCl, you now know that you need to make 1.2 liters. So this is just a little tool that you can either print out and do it by hand as you keep track, or you can just keep it like this. And as you go making solutions, it will automatically update so you know how much you need to make of everything. And say you wanted to get to this type of situation quicker, you go to Inventory Tools, Sort and Filter Update. And there's this third one that I haven't showed you yet. Sort and Filter for Solution Prep. You put in a 3 to get that one. It will erase everything, but then it will do exactly what it did before, which is it will remove any of the chemicals that aren't in this list or that don't contain the words in this list. It will remove all the ones that have a 0 value for the semester quantity, and it'll only show the ones that are solutions, so in mLs. And then it'll still put in that formula for you for quantity to make. So this is essentially solution making that match the keyword that are in here. So that's what this sort and filter is. Like I said, you can sort and filter it however you want. If this formula were to break, like if for some reason it doesn't exist and you want to put it back without having to run the whole thing again, it is stored in here, so you can just copy that and make sure you have the right values in it. But you know, that formula is there for you just in case it gets lost somehow.
So you customized it, that red, the stuff in the red column and those are ones that you put in.
Yeah.
So we can put whatever we wanted in.
So say you didn't care about fruit juice anymore. Oh wait, no, fruit juice is at 0 because we don't do that for 140 anymore. Say you don't care about indicators anymore. As you can see, indicators are right here. We go back to Inventory Tools, Sort and Filter. We go into 3. No more indicator. Yeah, so you can put in whatever you want in that one. And then, so still in Inventory Tools, we haven't gone over Update Calc Sheet Chemicals. So yeah, I haven't told you how to update these, and it's really just as simple as going into Inventory Tools, Update Calc Sheet Chemicals. And this button will go across all the sheets that contain the word chemical and take all the chemicals from those chemical tables and bring it in to this sheet for you. So update calc sheet chemicals. So you'll want to do that at the beginning of every semester after you've updated everything. And it'll go through. And yeah, I'll show you an example. So say we had a 103 class. We go to, oh wait, no. What happened? Yeah, so why is that 0? Oh, it's because I haven't updated the table here. So these are zeros, and that is why in calc it is still up saying it's a 0. So you got to make sure that the tables are updated first. So say it's let's go from the beginning and say it's a new semester. So we set these to being 1 for or let's even just, you know, for the sake of it going from the beginning, say that we have 2 103 classes, and we want to now, because I don't want to update all, I don't want to lose some of the information we already have, so I'm just going to update the tables in the 103 sheet. Actually, wait, no, cancel. I'm going to update the set labs to number of classes per section to make all these 2. I am then going to update tables in sheets. And now these are updated. And now I go into calc. And now I go into Inventory Tools, Update Calc Sheet Chemicals. Now it's going through all the prep sheets. And as you can see, it's updated for 103. So if this was a full new semester and you changed all these values and you just want to assume that every professor is going to do every lab that you have that's not grayed out, you just update these values, the amount of sections that there are. You would then go into update all, update all labs to number of classes per section. That's going to update the labs per section in here. So these will all be updated. And then you're going to click update all prep sheet tables. It'll update all the tables for you. And then you'll go into inventory tools, update calc sheet, and it'll update this for you. And then we'll get to the inventory. But before I forget, I'm going to set this back to being 0. Set this to being less numbers per section. Update some sheet. Or I forget. Update calc sheet.
Are you talking about for summer?
Yeah, I have 112, but I never updated the tables, so that's why it never was brought in. So see, this was always 0, and this is the default. So even if these are 1s and you were to update this sheet, so if I were to go into prep sheet chemicals, update tables in this sheet, it doesn't matter what this is, because this is still 0. Yeah, 1 times 0 is still 0. Because that's why. So this is, if this were 2 per se, and these are 1s, because it's still a ratio. Yeah, so 0 is still going to set this to be 0. So now this is updated. We know how to use sort and filter. We know what these two formulas do. Now let's do inventory. All right. How's everybody doing? Good. Yeah. Yes, it's there. I've put a lot of bells and whistles in this, so yeah, you'll still be able to go back, make sure you know how to use all the bells and whistles. But yeah, it's quite a bit. So with inventory, I have these notes here. To update the quantities in each class section for each chemical, use the function calculate inventory chemicals within the inventory tools, or within inventory tools. Make sure the calc sheet is updated first by running update calc sheet within the inventory tools. I showed you, updating the calc sheet. That's the sequence of what happens after the semester, and making sure that the prep sheet tables are updated with the update all prep sheet tables function. So in order, when a new semester starts, you want to update all the prep sheets, then you want to update the calc sheet, and then you want to update the inventory. Yeah, solutions that are stocked as solid need to either have a molarity or percent in the chemical name. For example, NaCl 5%, NaCl 1 molar. Do not have any spaces between the numbers and the percent or M. So like in this example, it's 5 and then percent. There isn't 5 space percent. Same thing with molarity. It needs to be 1 M, not 1 space M. And then that's why this is purple. I was going to have the students in the near future set or get the molar mass for all of these, because we might as well have them just for fun. But especially if we're making a solution out of something that is a solid, we need to have the molar mass so that it can be converted. The solution can be converted back into grams. And then molarity, this is only if it applies. If we buy a solution as a solution, we need to know the molarity that we buy it in. This check, that's specifically from Vanessa, checking if we need to look into buying that chemical. I think there are some in here. But yeah, I did specifically keep this one highlighted in yellow. So I didn't put the molar mass in, and this is what would happen if something went wrong. If so this is something that we get as a in grams, and we use it in a solution, this potassium chromate indicator. And so we use that potassium chromate indicator in 151, and it is set to 0 because, and that should, set an alarm flag, like why is it showing up? It'll show blank if we don't use it at all. And so if it shows up as 0, that means something went wrong in the calculation. And in that case, it was because we didn't have a molar mass for that chemical. So I went ahead, I calculated, or I found what the molar mass was for potassium chromate. Why is it not? Oh, because I keep pressing copy. Or Virgil can help me, yes. I think Virgil's cousin Gemini helped me find this.
Yeah.
So yeah, notes, you can put whatever you have in here, if you whatever you want in here. I put these specific notes that we purchased it in a 200-ounce unit, but I can only, for what I have made, use grams and mils. So never use liters, never use kilograms, always use, or never use ounces, use grams and mls. That's how I can store it. Same thing with these, like comes in a box of 5. You just kind of had to make the calculation of a box of 5 is, what is that? Or yeah, you know what I mean. All right, so, and then this goes back to what is this chemical name, alt names, alt names, alt names. So every time you make a new make a new prep sheet and you're using chemicals, make sure that it exists either in the chemical name or one of the alt names. So for example, as you can see with potassium chloride, we have it in several different concentrations. This is how the inventory sheet knows where it is, or what it is. It will look across any of these columns that contain the word either alt names or chemical name, and that is how it knows what it's grabbing from this calc sheet. So what it is doing is it's matching any of these values with something in here, like say KClO3. It will find this KClO3 right here, and that's how it knows this is the row it is updating, it is looking into. And then let's go back to the potassium chromate indicator. So it will find this potassium chromate indicator in the calc sheet that we use it, and it'll find what the unit or how much of that we use. And then it'll see, oh, hey, it contains a value and then an M, so we know it's a solution. And then that's how it knows that it needs to check the molarity or the molar mass to make it so that it matches the concentration that we either buy it in or converts it to grams, because that's what we buy it in. So this is purple because I want the students to add all the molar masses. You can change this back to being blue or whatever you want. This is just a note. This is yellow because I wanted to use that as an example. But yeah, it doesn't need to be yellow. But yeah, we can look here, and now we can see if we go into inventory tools and update calc sheet chemicals. It's going to run, it's going to grab all of the instances of the chemicals, and as you can see, it separates it by class for you. So you know that you use 21.6 grams of whatever this is in 150 and 7.2 grams of it in 151. It finished running, and this is still 0, even though we have a molar mass for it. Oh, I knew that there were going to be bugs. No, the total needed only sums all of these. So, yeah. So you don't want to change this row. This is one of the only places that has an in-cell formula. And as you can see, it rounds just for sig figures, I guess. You can change it however you want. Like if you wanted to increase the amount of sig figs, you can. But yeah, I am gonna make a note of myself to figure out why this isn't working. Maybe I can run it through with you. So I'll copy this. I'll try to find it in calc. Why? Oh, see alt now. Oh, copy. Paste. All right, potassium chromate indicator. We use 18 mils of it. You also want to make sure that, I don't know why I made it this way, you don't want to have double spaces after these that are within the inventory sheet. These are going to have double spaces in them because it's pulling it from the chemical sheets, and that's how that's the secret key for it to grab it. I don't know why I made it so that anything in the inventory, though, it can't have double spaces after it. So that was my first thought of why it wasn't working. Molar mass. It has everything it needs. Or maybe sometimes it just doesn't work on the first try. Nope, it's just not working. All right. Well, what happens if I get rid of this? Say I put it in the notes. You did it. Would it break this? It better, or else something's really not working. Okay, so this just isn't getting updated at all. All right, so I broke something somewhere. Good to know. Um, and I'll make this yellow again so I know to come back to it and fix whatever I broke. But I'll have that fixed. Don't worry. So that's how it would work. Is essentially it's looking for whatever chemicals are in this alt names, make sure it matches the right thing, and calculating the inventory that you need. These are kind of minutia tools. Last important tool is subtract previous semester. So this is what you'd want to do at the end of the semester is if you press this button, it will subtract 10.8 or it'll subtract 10.8, whatever this value is, from the running total. So it'll update the running total for you. Yeah, all you have to do is inventory tools, subtract previous semester. The check prep sheet chemicals against inventory. That does exactly what it says it does. So as you can see here, they're X's. And that is because they are in the inventory sheet, as you can see right here, but they aren't in the prep sheets, at least indicated as a chemical with a double space. So for a good example is phenolphthalein, whatever you pronounce it as. I didn't make it a chemical with a double space because we used such low quantities of it. It would be kind of hard to track because we put like drops as the per group. And so I just didn't put a double space behind it. And that is why there's an X behind it. So that's why you kind of want to double check these. But some of these chemicals could be that we phased them out. We don't use them anymore. But some of them could be in demos. I did go back and try to make sure that all the demos were included. Because you can, as you can see, the demos are within, like this is where it's looking for anything below row 48. So for example, in 150, I believe it's 150. Or is it 140? I think it's 140.
But I also was talking about like what we just did with, how do you do it?
Yeah.
Those things.
Yeah.
Or like there's one where we have like an iodine salt where we use maleic acid and we don't
Yeah.
use it anywhere else.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice to create a sheet. But if I created a sheet like this and just made sure I kept it on the second half, just format it just like this.
You could literally,
right?
yeah. So just to give an example, let's say we duplicate this. So it makes an exact copy. We right click, we rename it to, let's say, chem demos. Because you have to make sure it has chem in it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious how that would affect other things. I think it'll be fine. So yeah, then I guess you kind of have to navigate what you want to do with the number of classes and that kind of stuff.
Right.
But as long as it's, well, you don't even need to have it be in that section. Like I said, you could change this to say you wanted it to be S1.
Because I can put what also is needed.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, you can. Yeah. So you can change it however you want.
Some of these chemicals that aren't associated with it don't go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I keep trying to throw them out.
Yeah.
I've been using it. Oh, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we had that. Oh,
Yeah.
really
Oh yeah. 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 And then, yeah, so that's what those little X is for. And also, if you're in the calc sheet, like I said, we'd come back to this. That's what this is for. Like chemicals below are in prep sheets as chemicals with the double space, but do not have a match in the inventory sheet. So, for example, we don't have this weird buffer. I didn't know how to translate that into being in the inventory. Um, we don't have antacid in the inventory. Things that we probably don't need in the inventory, but if you're missing something, and let's say you run inventory tools, check prep sheet, it'll also automatically sort these for you alphabetically. But yeah, if you were to run it and say, yeah, like SO2, yeah, but it's not. So I had it listed as a chemical, so we track it. So that's one way you can do it. So like you can still track it in here and yeah, make sure you have it. But it's not in the inventory, so it's not getting.
Might want to put it in there.
Yeah.
Might need to go in there.
Yeah, NaOH 0.4 molar. Why? That should definitely be in there. NaOH 0.40.
Yeah, the true household items have always been a little bit like gray. I'm like, do I put that on the chemical list? Do I not put it on the chemical list? I don't know.
Yeah.
But they're used and we do have them and I do need to make sure I have them and
Yeah.
shampoo, conditioner, and I mean there's all kinds of things like that.
So if you were to add a chemical to this prep sheet that has no equivalent in here, then you would just like if you had added a concentration, you can literally just come in NaBr 1 molar, and then it'll look for that and know that it goes under sodium bromide. And even if it doesn't exist in the prep sheets, you can leave it in there. It doesn't change anything. So I'll just leave it in there for the sake of leaving it in there. But if you wanted a new chemical, you can literally just make a new row, really wherever you want. Because like I said, these aren't dynamic. It's literally every single time you run it, going to look through all the chemicals, all the rows. So it's not going to change anything if you add rows. If you delete columns, that's where it can get into problems. But you can add rows however you want.
Also, just as a note, I sometimes you just have to make a choice. So I made a choice on how some of these things were named, right? And how we noted them.
Mm-hmm.
So you are absolutely like, that is terrible nomenclature. We can modify. Like,
yeah.
This is my brainchild, right? So how we name these things. Yeah. So
just make sure the name is is still matched within the prep sheets. Yeah.
Correct. All.
Yeah.
I just want to say this was created by me.
Yeah. So as you can see, I like using NaOH. So that's what I put in for like all the prep sheets is NaOH, but it is sodium hydroxide. If you wanted to rename all of these in the prep sheets as sodium hydroxide, whatever molarity, you can do that. Like you can have spaces with it before, like as you can see, sodium chloride, it still works. All it knows is it's grabbing, if there's a number followed by either a percent sign or an M, that's what it's going to grab all the consecutive values that before the space to do the calculations. So you can have as many spaces in this area as you want. Like this could be just like that. And it's just going to call it sodium chloride and then the 0.1 molar. So you can have the name be really whatever you want. Yeah. So I think that's just about it, except for the fact it's broken and I need to fix it.
There's also some that have strike throughs on it.
Yeah.
So what I think we need to do. So the reason they're strike throughs is because I've recently in the last 2 years been purging, or getting rid of, trying to eliminate some of the hazardous ones. So, but I also didn't quite want to get rid of it out of my chemical inventory because I wanted to make sure when we did have it at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Right, you're kind of supposed to keep that information, but I wasn't sure how to keep it. But I think for this particular sheet, what we could do is kind of, I'd like to create kind of a different one that's just basically our inventory. the hazards and where it's located. So just very simple, so that we can post that outside of the chemical room, because we don't need to see all this stuff. And then on that sheet, we can make sure that we, keep all the chemicals that we have, the strikers, and we can filter and sort that. But for this purposes of this sheet, I think we can get rid of those lines.
Okay. Yeah.
But just make me a copy of that.
Yeah, we can totally,
Put
just,
that-
yeah, we can totally delete those. And for the sake of formatting, and you don't want to have to scroll all the way to the inventory, I like to just hide all these alt names.
Yeah,
But
thanks for creating, so many different ones, but some of them, I bet HCL takes up a lot, right?
oh, the HCl is the reason why there are so many. So let's go to hydrogen, yeah, hydrochloric acid. It goes all the way here. Yeah. So yeah,
Pick one and call it good.
Yeah. yeah, you can just go in here, hide columns. That's not going to change anything regarding the function. It's just cosmetic, so you can just scroll more easily. But yeah,
And you can get rid of the money stuff too, like, that was me, you can hide those at least.
okay,
That, it was helpful at the time, but those numbers have been, that's like 3 years old now.
okay.
That would have to be-
Oops. Yeah, I can hide these.
It is nice to see, like, because what you're able to do is then just, organic actually costs $2,567 to run for the whole semester, right?
Yeah, I'll make it so you can still see everything that's in that little blurb. But yeah, so it's broken right at this moment, but I'll fix it, hopefully. But yeah, in theory, when this is functioning, this will show all the quantities in the quantities that we order it in. So it'll translate solutions into solids. It'll translate diluted solutions into their fully concentrated solutions that we buy. Yeah. And so, so if we go through and do a little bit of a recap, so jump to lab, that goes in, jumps to whatever lab based on the table of contents that you want to go to. Update all is if you want to just, instead of tediously going through, first you'd want to update all the labs to the number of labs per classes per section. After you change, this is the key right here. This is what changes the amount of sections. So every single semester, these are going to need to be changed. But once those are updated, then you just go into update all labs to number of classes per section. If you want to assume that every single professor is going to do every single lab that we have in there, then you do update all prep sheet tables. That'll update all the tables for you. And then you can skip this one and go directly to inventory tools and update the calc sheet chemicals. That'll update these. You then go into, you're still in here. And then you go and sort and filter if you want to have this little special page to make solutions or however you want to sort and filter this and print it out for yourself. And then you can go into calculate inventory chemicals. And then that's how you can know, like at the beginning of the semester, maybe I need to check if I need to, I'll let Manessa know if something needs to be bought or if Manessa's just going to do that part. At the end of the semester, you subtract the previous semester. If you're updating chemicals and all that kind of stuff, and you just want to check and see where inventory situations are, then you do check prep sheet chemicals against inventory. That'll show up X's for ones that are in the inventory but not in prep sheets. And that'll show up the chemicals here that are in the prep sheets but not in the inventory. And then last but not least, we go into the prep sheet tools for specific prep sheets. If you want to update just the chemicals within that one sheet, you press that button. If you want to extract the lab names from all the prep sheets and put them into the table of contents, you press that button. If you want to set the labs to number of classes per section just for that section, you press this button. And if you want to print, you just select prep sheets to print. It'll snag all of them for you, and then you can just press print and go from there. So, yeah. Yeah. Sounds good.